Welcome to the drive to Hershey. Welcome to the Wednesday drive to Hershey, Pennsylvania, the sweetest place on earth. What a funny day. What a funny day. First, pretty boring day, right? Everybody's sitting in the holding pattern waiting to see what's going to happen tomorrow with the report. And how about that? A little good old-fashioned Twitter battle breaks out in the unlikeliest of places. Sometimes life just reaches out and taps you on the funny bone. So it's a juxtaposition of the very important things called, the Mueller Report getting released versus the absolute insipidly irrelevant, as in Brenden Dilley's bot boosting Periscope account. Something we've known about for quite some time. Every now and then, Scott Adams will kind of reach down into the sewer and kick a turd. It's kind of weird, you know. He definitely doesn't get his blood pressure up over, as far as I can tell, almost anything, except how dumb Q is. But apparently he decided to reach down to the sewer and kick a turd today, that turd being Brenden Dilley, a turd I know all too well. And I thought it was pretty funny because, turds like Dilley, they live off of shade. They don't want sunlight. They don't want anyone paying attention to how pathetic they really are. I mean, if you listen to 5 minutes of this guy's ranting, it is just a constant barrage of profanity interlaced with vacuous observations that make no political sense nor bear any relevancy. So you can wonder why Scott Adams was amused enough to poke back at a Twitter thread about Dilley averaging close to the same amount of views on Periscope that Scott Adams does, which, let's be fair, is unlikely at best and impossible at worst. So Scott Adams has, I believe, tens of thousands of Periscope followers. Dilley might have a couple thousand followers. So the ratio there wouldn't really balance out very well in Dilley's favor. Now, I will say there are two things required for Periscope views that amount to significant, meaning getting into the five figures. Having consistently been there myself in the past, it is because you stay on one platform, like in this case Periscope, and be on at a time where everybody knows you're on. That's easy, but there's a flip side to that. So Dilley isn't complicating his botnet program by popping on at different times. Dilley will pop on, I guess, 9 o'clock Western time, and that will be an automated botnet algorithm. It'll kick in some live views, and then it'll go over and do repeated reviews. So he'll get live views, maybe, I don't know, somebody looked at it today. Maybe he might get 5,000 live views, and then he'll be up to 20,000 maybe later that night or the next day. So these are all botnet views. These are all non-interactive. These are all just kind of poking in and kicking up the view count. So you can figure out watching live. Okay, Dilley's got 500 people live. Okay, that's having been there myself a few times, I can tell you it is nearly impossible to navigate with 500 or 600 people on live. Never mind Scott Adams, who routinely does between 1.2 and 1.8 thousand live. It's very hard to get into the comment reading and interaction with your Periscope audience. But I noticed that despite Scott Adams having twice the number of live viewers that Dilley, that somehow Dilley's numbers get padded or inflated later for all this 20,000, 22,000 views. It's a little trick he picked up from the master botnet man, and that is Big Millie B. Bill Mitchell's been a botter for a long time. I think, it's no secret. Rebecca Worsham witnessed him at the computer down in his little one-bedroom apartment he had in Florida before he had to move back home to his mom's house. He had a viewer purchasing app open. So, I mean, this is what these people do, because why are they doing this? Well, they're shilling products. And to shill products, you must convince those who, you're seeking to get to advertise on your show, whether it's stroke spoons or fake vitamins. You need to have this quota of viewers that you can match for what it is, the percentages you're getting off these products. So that's the reason why it's a total scam. And there are certain things into the TOS that have been unexplored thus far, that can be explored. The point is, it's funny. So hashtag Scott Adams or do a Dilley search, and if you're not blocked by the thin-skinned prick, go ahead and read the exchanges, which are very funny, very funny. So Dilley has declared that Scott Adams, well, they're allowed to go after Scott Adams because Scott Adams doesn't like Q. And if you don't like Q, you are a fair target regardless of your ideological persuasion or your typical alignment behind Trump. If you don't like Q, then you're open season like Sebastian Gorka and others who have said it's horseshit, which of course Q is horseshit. Where's Q, by the way? QAnon has essentially done one Q drop, number one Q drop since attacking the MAGA coalition on March 29th. Q has done one drop that looks very much suspiciously like a test run done by a fat bald guy out in Arizona. So you take your pick on that one. Q has essentially, buried itself in the sand. In the Matrix, otherwise known as Jeff Peterson, he and his buddy Justin French, otherwise known as SD Conservative, they are splitting up the ranks on the Discords in the Patriot shitbox world. And Matrix is trying to drive, or should I say Peterson is trying to drive traffic over to his own personal website and show products and get money that way. So there's just a big, shitstorm in Q world. So it's like that job's half over. You figure Q might be a little interested in Julian Assange. The answer to that is no. You think that Q might be a little interested in the Mueller report being released or have some type of precognitive wave of wisdom? No, that's not there. So you look at this and think, what the hell is Q worth if they insist on doing nothing in a time of intrigue? Well, it's because they're all arguing with each other. It's a trip code bidding war. It's just pathetic. It's more or less Coleman Rogers sitting around throwing his hands up saying, oh, you think this is... It's just kind of a pathetic little thing. Like I said, we've got people planted everywhere inside their little shitbox organizations, all over the Discords. They don't trust each other, and rightly so. So that brings in Praying Maddock, who tries to come to Dilley's rescue and comes up with a very novel way to excuse Dilley's profane, vicious style. And in doing so, he puts out a tweet saying, why do Christians share Dilley's profane content? Well, maybe because, quote, the men of God can't talk about it. Essentially, then he hashtags it 501c3 trap. So what he's saying is what I've said all along. He talked to his lawyer and he told him, listen, you can't be tax deductible and shilling out all this political shit nonstop. You just can't do it. So he has to now go back to Supernatural Saturdays and trying like hell to make Q some type of religious object of reverence. Difficult indeed, pathetic indeed, unpalatable Indeed. So these human pieces of trash are, I don't know what you want to call it. They're looking for their pivot in the grift. And a good grift must pivot, or a good grift will die. So what happens when the big pond is populated, the fish can get big. They can all grift together. But when the big pond starts to dissipate into smaller ponds, there can only be so many big fish to occupy that particular body of water. That is what's happening now in the entire Q grift. Now they start to quadrant off and only support those who are moving forward in the direction of their personal grift angle. So you've got Jeff Peterson in the Matrix doing his thing with Justin French, all digital marketing, all numbers, algorithm, a lot of media manipulation through social media, which Justin French is a longtime expert at. And then you've got Maddock and Dilley, neighbors out there in the desert, figuring that they'll try to link up and keep their thing going. And then I guess, Coleman Rogers and Christina will try to keep the cash flowing into the Patriots shit box with that 412 Anon. I don't even know his name yet. I never even looked into it. I'll get his name for you next time. So it's all falling apart. So Dilley starts jabbing back at Scott Adams. Is kind of funny because all it does is put back into the forefront that Scott Adams is a pretty, let's all say it what it is. He's a pretty stylistic, creative, critical thinker. He's also very wealthy and successful, which is something that Dilley can't ever proclaim. So you've got a wildly successful author, an actual author who's sold actual books, not fake self-help books on Amazon, and an actual multi-millionaire living in California in a very large home with tens of thousands of Periscope followers who listen to his Periscopes daily. And then you've got a shitbag like Dilley who rarely says anything of any worth, but when he tries to string together a sentiment, it's just profane and doesn't make much sense to anyone to listen to, particularly if you understand politics and government. So, nice move, Dilley. You got Scott Adams to basically say you're botted up, which everybody knows you're botted up. Now everybody's reporting about it. They're reporting on the Ann Vandersteel scams. Vandersteel's taking it on the chin really hard right now. Bill is basically flown the coop. We don't know where Billy is. Big Millie B's off claiming he's in Orlando on business deals. And if you believe that, well, then you believe you got to take a bridge to get to Dilley's house in Arizona. I don't know what to say about these people anymore. You can tell by my tone of voice how much it bores me that I just have to pain myself into discussing it while I'm in the car driving anyway. So you can tell it doesn't really amuse me all that much because I'm literally at my threshold of intolerance for these people has been breached. But I did want to let you know that I will do a William Barr Mueller Report update probably tonight, and we will get into what will and will not happen, and we will tell you what the talking points will be tomorrow. We'll tell you them tonight, so that makes your life just a little bit less surprising when you see who's saying what about the report. And so we'll have the talking points for both sides, and then I can walk you through some of the other aspects of the report, which would be far more interesting than talking about how dumb Dilley is fighting with Scott Adams, or how fat and pathetic and bald David Joseph Hayes is. I mean, those things are all funny for a short time, but now they bore me. So anyway, tonight, probably in the 10 to 10:30 vicinity, I will let you all know my thoughts on the big reveal of the Barr Report moving into this holy weekend. And if I don't see any of you till then, I wish you all to have a happy and joyous Easter weekend. I'll talk to you guys later tonight.